colleague, it's £10. It's coming up to Christmas, we need some extra money. Okay, we're going to go up here.
£20. Take a photo with me. With me it's 30 pounds. £100. You want to take a photo with me?
Have a quick chat here, then we'll move on. And stop raining, which is great news. Come and have a seat over in this section here. If you could try and stay together, that's cool. You don't need to hold hands, but if you can stay in the same section, that's cool.
Oh, קטן, לא כמו...
Betul sih? Segede teuing tuh sih?
Detik nya. Di orang mah gede teh pedah ieu.
Don't know your UK geography. Aston Villa is in the heartland, the Midlands, along with Coventry, Birmingham, these sorts of guys, okay? So, Aston Villa are no mugs. They beat us here last year, I think, I can remember.
Yes, they did.
Did they? Stamford Bridge, like that, all the way around, 3 tiers. The stand was over-engineered, came in very over budget, and it almost pretty much bankrupted Chelsea for quite a long time. But the original idea, if we had done it, would have been a 3-tier stadium around the entire side. We have only 40,000 fans, roughly, just over. This is not enough, because we have many, many thousands more that want to come to every game. And we're 20,000 less each game with Tottenham and Arsenal. They both have
Premier League, there would probably be about 3 times this number of reporters gathered here. 80 to 100, quite normal. Over 100 for the big games, and for the very biggest games, sometimes approaching 200. Those are the games like in the Champions League, which sadly we're not going to be enjoying this season, but it won't be long before they're back. Twice. Let's imagine it's a typical Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. Traditional kick-off time is 3 o'clock.
we like Fulham. We don't worry too much about Fulham. They've never won anything. Why would we? They play over the road. They kick a ball around on a piece of grass. Never win anything, and but we quite like them. Great history, great stadium. This stadium, if we do change it, none of this stadium is actually protected now because it's too recent. Fulham have a stand 1905, can't be touched, famous Craven Cottage. We're in a very lucky situation, we do build a new stand. Woolwich Arsenal, and Arsenal in English terminology is where you keep all your weapons and your guns and your cannons and all that stuff from years ago. That's why there's a cannon on the front there. And if you support Arsenal, you are called a gunner, or in the vernacular in London, you're called a gooner. So if somebody says, what team do you like? They say, oh, he's a gooner. That means he supports the Arsenal, okay? So we call them gooners. We've got lots of other different terms for them. Which we can't use on the tour, I'm afraid. But my partner, she's an Arsenal fan, I'm afraid. But, you know, we don't talk, she's an Arsenal fan. So there you go. Ronaldo, great player, never scored at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. Messi, another incredible player. We were quite lucky that generation really to see these two guys on playing football at the same time. Very, very lucky. Players like that don't come along very often. Messi only ever scored once at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. So, you know, a little bit more practice and he might be all right. So, Tim's going to take you to... It's very important to tennis. Tennis. AC Milan. Maldini. The shirts of the women's team, very successful, won the FA Cup and the league again last year. Emma Hayes has done a great job. She's been the women's team manager for 10 years now. So we've got some of the shirts up there. Sam Kerr of the women's team, Frank Kirby, Lauren James, of course, and you met her brother, of course, because if you don't know, this is Lauren James and this is the sister of Rhys James. There you go. And that's very unusual at that level to have brother and sister playing for club and country. England, of course, who just missed out to Spain in the World Cup final. Obviously, VAR. They didn't like VAR. If you lose, blame it on VAR. That's great. I love it. Right? Vialli passed away early this year. Great player, Gianluca Vialli, passed away in London. And we had a game on the 9th of September, Legends of Europe. And it was basically for charity and in honour of Mr. Vialli. And why not? I think we had 36,000 people, which is pretty good. And all that money, a lot of that money has gone to the Royal Marsden. The Royal Marsden is a world-famous cancer research centre and hospital, and also some money for the foundation. So 36,000 people. And if you walk around the stadium, there's still screens up saying you can donate £5 to a great cause. Okay, so we have no sponsor yet for our new shirt. So if anybody has a spare 35, 40 million pound knocking around, you know, we had a few people on my previous tour from Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's kind of, you know, pocket money for these guys, isn't it? You know, they can sponsor our shirt because we ended the agreement with the 3 Mobile website at the end of June. And funny enough, when the shirt came out in the middle of August, it wasn't available until after the first game of the season, which is very, very unusual, because usually we want the players playing in it for the first game of the season, so all the kids and people go out and say, oh, I love that, I'll go and buy that. Go on, Dad, buy it for me. And we didn't have the new shirt until the 16th of August. And when we did have it in the shops, it proved very, very popular. Maybe because it didn't have a sponsor's logo on the front. I don't know. So, we have the new 3rd shirt as well, which is like a light. I know. John Terry, a legendary captain, Chelsea player, used to have 3 pairs of boots for every game. 1 pair he used for the warm-up, 1 pair for the first half, 1 pair for the second half, and he only used his boots for 3 games and then gave them away. And have we heard of Mr. Zola, Gianfranco Zola? Yes, we heard of him. Met him. You never know who you're going to bump into when you're working around Chelsea. Bumped into him outside Frankie's a few weeks ago with my friends. Usually when you get to my age, I'm not really worried about having a selfie with players. But I thought, right, so I'm having a photograph with Gianfranco Zola. He's not getting away, you know what I mean? So I stalked him. No, I didn't. So I thought, right, I'm going to have a photograph with him. And he's titchy tiny, very small guy. And if you look in the museum, I think we have his boots from when he played at Chelsea, and his boots are size 5. 5. My boots are 11, Tim's are 8, and Gianfranco Zola 5, size 5 boots. And talking about the boss is not looking. On the top there you'll see a little dial, goes up to, don't know, whatever, goes up to 15 or whatever it goes up to. But it says on
outside in the stadium, £40,000. They can see on big TV screens in each corner of the stadium that the players are now in the tunnel. And rising amongst the supporters, they know kickoff is a couple of moments away. If you want to tell the referee, okay, you all did very well. That's the reason why the coach generally spends the entire game on his feet in the white box we call the technical area. Obviously he's standing up much closer to the action, can issue instructions to his team. We're standing here, of course, on artificial grass, aren't we? This is synthetic, it's not real, but it is very hard wearing. So it doesn't get worn out by the coach stalking around the technical area, or the linesman running up and down, or the substitutes who use this area to warm up. But you can see the difference between this and that. That is real grass, not 100% real grass, 95% real grass. Any questions on what you've seen and heard so far?
Can we see the video on the top?
No, it's there. Yeah. In fact, it is now being wiped because we have to wipe it away.
East lower here on the left, east lower on the right, past the press boxes and mobility problems. If you are a disabled, if you are a registered disabled fan,
Ini apa? Tribun Timur.
a couple of minutes up here, guys. Photos. And then we're going to call it a day, okay?
Ini terakhir.
Take you into the shop. A couple of minutes up here with a great view and straight down the pitch.
Oh iya.
The shed upper. South stand upper. Shed upper. United Nations buffer zone here. You know what I mean? No snipers on towers though. That's the only difference. We'd need that for Leeds United, I'll tell you. We were doing some digging here. It was driving us up the wall. They were doing some digging down here. And there was a big ditch, wasn't there, Tim? The noise was unbelievable. We had to have speakers. We had to have microphones up here. And there was a big ditch being built out there. And a couple of youngsters said to me, "What are they doing there?" I said, "Well, there's going to be a big moat. And there's going to be some sharks." And this little kid went, I said, "No, not really. You're going to have some sharks floating up and down with your away fans, you know what I mean?" Anyway, so this, back in the day, when we get it's really lovely when we get some very older fans coming in. I had a lovely old gentleman on the other day. He came, he was in a little wheelchair with his family. 91 he was, old George, 91. What a lovely man. And he told me, he couldn't really say too much, he was very, very elderly. And he said, I asked the guy that was with him, and he said, I was telling you about when he used to bunk over the wall, because we have the Brompton Cemetery there. And he used to bunk over the wall into the game free. And I said, yeah, they've got your photograph, George. They're still looking for you, mate. And he said, you're a wanted man, I said to him. But it's lovely to get the really old guys coming back, and they remember the shed. That's a bit extreme, 90 years old. We got a lot of people my age, 70, 80, older, coming back, and it's lovely to them to come back. And they remember the shed with great fondness and mixed memories, probably. It was a little bit rough and ready, but you have to remember this was all one level, and it was all standing. Woe's back three, a modern referee, and he said, if I'd been referee in that game, I would have given out 9 red cards on that game. So that shows you how the tackling was. That's why he was called Chopper Harris. And he's still with us, and he comes in on match day. If you come in for the Aston Villa game, you might see him going around, and he meets and greets people, hands out a few photographs, and here's some. Is he still the highest, most appearances?
Oh yeah.
Most appearances, but was it Bonetti was number 2?
I think Bonetti and then John Terry. Yeah.
Bonetti and John Terry. So there you go. You might bump into him. Just make sure you know who he is before you ask for an autograph, because he gets a bit miffed if you don't know who he is. Right? So make sure. But he's a great guy. That's our security box, the security team HQ. The commentators are up there, East Stand Upper, right at the top. And if you want to know where the experts are, the pundits that talk about the game before it starts, and afterwards they analyse it afterwards, don't they? With their little computers, and they're called pundits. We call them other things, but they're called pundits. And their studio is right above in the far corner where we first started. If you look up above where it says Matthew Harding's Blue and White Army, you'll see 2 windows there, right underneath the roof, and that's the studio. That's where they sit and prevaricate and tell us how brilliant they were when they were a player. And we've never heard of them, some of them. Anyway, so there you go. If you're coming to the game, have a great time. Come nice and early, soak up the atmosphere, and don't invade the pitch, please, madam. I know you brought your boots, but please don't run on the pitch. If you run on the pitch, we get fined £50,000, so Kevin told me. If anybody runs on the pitch, we get fined £50,000. So if you are going to do it, make it worthwhile. Run around for about half an hour, get your money's worth. You know what I mean? That's what you have to do. Okay, thanks very much for coming on behalf of myself, Derek and Tim. Come and see the Chelsea, you're going to love it. This is Sky's first game at Chelsea, and he's really looking forward to it. It's going to be absolutely brilliant, as long as we win. So thank you for coming from the States. Thank you for coming from Chile. Up there, we got the guys from Chile. Have you seen the Chile poster up there? Supporters Club, Chile. Have you seen it? I put that up specially for you. I knew you was coming. It took me hours to put that up. I had to do a rope ladder. I had to come down from the ceiling there on a rope to do that. Didn't we, Tim?
No.
No. You could pick it up. Pick it up. Yeah, anyway, Tim.
Drogba yang jadi ikonnya ya.
Ashley Cole.
Sempat pindah ya?
Pindah. Oh iya gitu? Emang iya, orang Drogba?
Pensiun di Chelsea.
disappointment there. He doesn't hear the roar from the crowd. Super save by Perisic.
Rivalries off. Olic is coming on.
One of the best in the country, which was exactly what I said to Alfredo. Why won't it? Mr. Mears was truly the father of the club. I can claim to have been its godfather. Yes, when next to launch the new outfit at 7:30 p.m. on March the 10th, 1905, upstairs at the Rising Sun Pub.
Ya.
Bisa menang lawan City anjir. Originalnya. Mana tulisannya ya? Oh bukan asli ya? Lain asli?
Asli ini?
Hah?
Asli?
Oh tuh.
Ini apa ya? Mantap.
Kamu Mourinho pernah juara apa?
Liga Inggris, Liga.
I think it is special. Everyone talks about the Carling Cup's not big, but I think to be honest, it's always a bit special one.
2002 hiji loh nya.
Heeh.
Free anjir satu partner ini.
3 official partner.
Everyone involved would be
It's 90s.
Kita 19-0.